God. What's up, YouTube? I'm Venus Villadelgado, and I fell asleep on my Kinesiology 152A video project. Just kidding. I'm actually going to be talking about sleep deprivation on exercise performance. I used 6 articles to explain why sleep is important for athletic performance in both recovery and endurance, and why sleep disturbances actually occur for these athletes. In these studies, there are different types of sports, so I'm going to actually be testing them by giving you a sample of me on the treadmill, me on the cycle ergonometer, things like that, and showing you how tired I look after having little to no sleep. So, before I keep babbling, let's roll to the tape. Everyone needs enough sleep, especially after a long day. And for an athlete, 7 to 9 hours is a pretty good amount of sleep, especially for recovery. And this is according to the article, The Importance of Sleep for Athletic Performance by Marshmello. Recovery is important for athletes, especially after intense training periods, injury, and competition. Recovery is actually released through the growth hormone and some androgens. And why do we need those? An athlete needs to perform at their greatest effort, right? So, with that, recovery actually helps with muscle building, muscle repair, fat oxidation, and bone growth. But we need those hormones. Without 7 to 9 hours of sleep, that can't happen. Well, efficiently. Sleep is not only important for recovery, but for the performance as a whole. The athlete can't perform at their greatest intensity or effort without enough sleep. So they probably can't even endure that much stress on themselves without sufficient sleep. According to this article, 7 to 9 hours would help with recovery as well as competition and help the athlete perform at their best. So why does the athlete not have enough sleep? They're called sleep disturbances. Let's check it out. According to the article, Understanding Sleep Disturbances Prior to Important Competitions by Juliff, on page 14, we look at the methods. Subjects included 283 elite Australian athletes from international or professional teams, ranging from age 16 to 47, competed in the sport for at least 11 plus or minus 6 years, trained an average of 16 hours and 42 minutes plus or minus 6 hours 42 minutes per week, slept on average 7 hours 42 minutes plus or minus 0.54 hours per night, and competed in 14 plus or minus 13 competitions or games in the past year. The test included the Competitive Sports and Sleep Questionnaire and the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index. The first test included 3 sections. First section talked about the demographic data of the athlete, whether they were male or female, and whether they were part of a team or individual sports. The second section regarded their sleep habits prior to their competition. And section 3 was a detailed questionnaire of their sleep habits as well as training. After the study, sleep disturbances was reported to be situational and not daily. 181 out of the 283 Australian athletes reported their worst sleep one night prior to their competition. 82.1% reported problems falling asleep, while 83.5% were just nervous about the competition. In both individual and team sport athletes, they just had thoughts about the competition, being nervous, and could not sleep. Factors, however, associated with poor sleep were age in sport. Increasing age in sport would also increase the probability of poor sleep.
Buy it, use it, break it, fix it, trash it, change it, melt, upgrade it, charge it, point it, zoom it, press it, snap it, work it, quick erase it, write it, cut it.
The subjects included 16 trained male cyclists ranging from age 20 to 50, slept about 6 or more hours per night, trained at least 3 times a week for the past half a year, and ridden Cape Town cycle tour within the last year of less than 3 hours and 45 minutes. The test included a questionnaire followed by a session of high-intensity interval training, and then followed by a control condition. Measures were taken 12 and 24 hours after the session. And then after 2 weeks, the cyclist repeated the same trial under the alternate condition. There were similar amounts of sleep and weight prior to the high-intensity interval training session in both the controlled and sleep-deprived conditions. Peak power output was very different in both conditions as well. Subjects included 10 male team sport athletes with these characteristics, and the tests were 2-day experimental trials for the controlled versus sleep-deprived conditions, with 30-minute graded exercise run on the treadmill, followed by a 50-minute intermittent sprint exercise. Muscle biopsies were obtained before the graded exercise run and 30 minutes after the intermittent sprint exercise. There were no differences in mean sleep duration during the 2 nights prior to both controlled and sleep-deprived conditions. Sprint times were slower in both days of sleep-deprived conditions compared to the controlled condition, and muscle glycogen content was significantly lower in the sleep-deprived condition of day 2. This clip shows the same study as the previous one about treadmill endurance. Using the same study, another author takes a different approach and talks about endurance instead of recovery. No difference in sleep duration in both conditions. There was less distance covered after the sleep-deprived condition compared with the controlled condition, and heart rate was definitely lower in sleep-deprived condition because they were very tired, and RPE was higher. There was a primary and secondary group, in which both assessed strength and endurance. 2 tests were done, the 30-second wing gait, which measured peak power, and strength and endurance of the knee extensor and elbow flexor was also assessed. The primary group had barely any sleep, only 13 plus or minus 12 minutes on the first night of racing. On the 30-second wing gait test, peak power, mean power, and end power decreased by a lot. And for the strength and endurance test, MVC for the elbow flexion and knee extension decreased significantly, over 10%. As you can see, athletes really need sleep, especially to perform well and recover well. 7 to 9 hours is recommended, and for young athletes, a minimum of 10. Sleeping and waking time should be consistent, so an alarm clock should help. The athlete should make sure that in their room it is not too hot. Temperatures above and below 29 degrees Celsius is recommended. Also, bedding shouldn't be too thick, the room should not be hot, and there should not be any humidity, so that the core temperature would also not increase. 30-minute naps should be good for the athlete, but not in the late afternoon or evening. The athlete should wake up under bright light, wash your face. After doing all of that, caffeine should wake the athlete up. Drinking caffeine before a nap would help plasma concentrations peak 30 to 75 minutes and last 3 to 7 hours. Every athlete should practice pre-sleep routines. So they should have a dark room, a cool environment, and no noise. Melatonin release is subject to light and dark sensitivity, and they should also manage anxiety by talking to themselves, giving them self-confidence, even visualizing something positive for their competition, and as well as make a routine time to go to bed. I'm gonna win the competition tomorrow. I'm gonna win the race. I'm just gonna sleep well tonight, at least 7 hours, and I'll be good. So guys, I hope you liked my video about sleep deprivation and exercise performance. I hope you guys know that sleep is very important, not only for athletes, but for you. Especially as college students, we need a lot of sleep, because how can we get through the day without it? Alright guys, good luck on finals, and have a good winter break.